Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. I'm Cosmos Dar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? You see, American identity is about freedom, the opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. Welcome to Extraordinary America. Ingeborg, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you
You're
so
right.
much for taking the time to do this episode with me. I really appreciate it. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And well, as you mentioned, I'm based in Holland, in the Netherlands. Grew up there as well. Did a little side step to London for 5 years. Did my studies there as well, and then came back and had my corporate career here, and then transitioned into my practice, which I have had for 19 years now. And that developed onto what I'm doing now, as I call myself a business and personal relationship alchemist, using different modalities which have been studied over the years and my experience and my highly intuitive side as well, to get my clients to the desired outcome. Um, yeah, so that's in a nutshell. And I have two sons, 17 and 20. And I love them dearly. They're really nice. And that's it. And I have a pet as well, a Labradoodle.
So, Ingeborg, tell me this. How did you how did you get to this career path that you have right now in the first place? Like, what was your strategic vision from the time you were in your late teens to where you're now, and how did it evolve over the years regarding your career?
Yeah. Well, I did my studies in London and a bit in Holland as well. And when I came back, I had the corporate career. I was managing large teams. I really like that, must say. But I was always something which I couldn't really use my feeling side and how the mind works and stuff like that. I did obviously help people in my team, but to a certain level, to a certain extent. And it was actually a holiday I did in Thailand on an island, which was the sort of pivotal moment for me that I decided, okay, I want to pursue the other side of me as well. Because within my character is the analytical side and the feeling side. And I can switch very easily between the two. Um, but I wanted to explore the feeling side more and tapping into and helping people on a more fundamental level. So that holiday in Thailand actually started my career in that sense. Started my studies. I did many different things. A lot of like mind, body, and soul. A lot of energy work, coaching studies. Quantum touch, touch of matrix, hypnose trainings, energy work, Reiki, well, so many things. Yoga, I've had a yoga a class for about 11 years as well, or a yoga school actually. So I did many things, and eventually it sort of evolved in what it is now, because all the different things I did and the corporate career I have made it into what I do now. So I help men, women, and couples, and I can relate very easily to people like in the workforce, having problems within the relationships within their team or stuff like that, or the typical personal stuff as well. And it suits me very well because I can use both sides, and well, it suits the customers as well.
So, Imrog, like speaking of like talking about more, elaborating more about your vacation in Thailand, right? Like, what was the catalyst or motivational factor that happened over there that made you decide that this is going to be like your career path and change the trajectory of everything?
Well, actually, I did a massage therapist course there in Wat Po in Bangkok, and I felt something there within me that I could use my hands to make a change in someone. Obviously it's like massaging, it's what you do, but it was something deeper, because doing that, I picked up on things in people. I picked up on their problems, and we talked about it and stuff like that. And that was actually the catalyst, what you said, like in changing and knowing that side of, I always had it, from when I was little, but I never really used it as such. And it felt like, yeah, this is what I need to do. Um, so yeah, and when I came back to Holland, I started like official studies in massage therapist for 4 years, and that brought about all the other things actually, what I did. Shiatsu, feet reflexology, yeah, other like things, and then Reiki, and then yoga, and then all the coaching modalities and neuroplasticity, and yeah, what I said, like the mind, body, and soul. I like to learn. I'm a very sort of curious person, and I like to learn. So that's what kept me going,
So,
actually.
so Ingeborg, one of the most fascinating things that we have in this world is the concept of human nature and basically mental disorders and people who have because mental health is a big issue in
Mm.
business and entrepreneurship and also like in various fields. But from your perspective, what is the connection between like mental disorders and how they affect our world today as we know it, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship and business?
Well, that is a really a big question as such. Well, and I'll break it down a bit. For maybe like sort of backtracking a bit, I came into this work as well because I grew up with a narcissistic mother, which is, as we all know, I presume, a mental disorder, a personality disorder it is. And that did obviously a lot to me. I was traumatized, and I needed a lot of work actually to become what I am today. Um, so that being said, and using that in my work, it is very sort of easy for me to relate if people have problems, because I've been through the sort of same problems that they have, the stuckness and not know what you should do, the fear of failure, and those are things that you have in your work as well. So if you want to move on, and this is something inside of you, this is the inner child part, so to speak, you have to deal with that, because otherwise you keep on stuck in patterns, which I had as well before, and you just can't move on. What I said, the fear of failure, the overthinking, the not doing the stuff, the in the relationship realm, because like for narcissism, it's everywhere. It destroys your soul, your identity, your mind, your everything. And to become whole from that takes a lot of work. But that's so it's easy for me to relate. And I know, serving clients, that you can't move on properly if you don't deal with the issue, being it from like narcissistic or any other thing you've experienced. If you're traumatized for something, and you can be traumatized as well if you didn't get, or if you have unmet needs, what they call it. It's a trauma as well for a child. If that's inside of you, it's difficult to move on. You keep
So,
on going into the same pattern all the time.
So, Imran, just for the audience to know, right? Like a lot of people have an idea of what narcissism is, but they don't really know the true definition of it. So, can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about like your perspective on what is a narcissist and what are the traits so that people can understand what to look for if they're dealing with such a person?
Yeah, sure. Well, the narcissist actually lives their life through someone else. So they need the other person They need the energy. They feed off the energy of the other person. And basically, and it's a very serious personality disorder.
Like an
Uh,
energy vampire?
yeah, that they are there to destroy you.
Wow.
They need that to give a sense of a value to themselves. And they have this strange idea that you are, or me, or whatever, the person that they need to feed off. And they do that via various methods. So they manipulate you, they devalue you, they discard you, they give you the silent treatment. Um, yeah, you're just something they use. And if they can't use you anymore, you're sort of thrown out. And when you're thrown out, they start realize that they need you, so they try to get you back. So that's the going back and forth all the time. There's a duality in there that makes you, the person who's dealing with it, losing your mind, basically. It's very hard to stay sane when someone is calling you names or telling you that what you said or felt is not true. The guilt tripping, the anger is a big thing as well. They get angry just like that, and you don't even know why, because it's never something you've done, but they always blame you. It's always your fault or someone else's. And then, yeah, for me, like growing up, or if you have a partner, it's sort of mind blowing, but in the wrong wrong sense. It destroys your soul and your mind and your yeah, everything, your heart. Yeah, and you really have to do a lot to pick that up and become yourself again.
So there's a saying that a narcissist can be very charming and charismatic. Like they can pull you in with a strategy called love bombing. So for the sake of like the audience to get an understanding, so they can be more like they can defend themselves against this saying. Like in the beginning, how does a narcissist even get into your life? Like how do they become attached? What do they do that
Yeah,
makes the person fall for them?
yeah.
Because it seems to be happening a lot in today's society.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, and I think we need to distinguish between the real narcissist, which what I said is a personality disorder, and some people have narcissistic traits. So that's a difference. We all might have like some traits, some minor ones, like we all have like autism traits, but we are not like an autist or something. So there's a difference there. But if you come across one, what you said, they're very charming. And that love bombing means they give you their sort of soul, which they don't have, but they give you their soul, the whole story, their love. They give you roses. They want to pick you up. They want to go on a holiday with you. You are the only woman or man they've waited for. You're the best in the world. You hear all these compliments, and you start sort of, well, if you're that type of person, you start to grow. You feel, oh, I'm really special, and he had never felt that for a woman, or she never felt that for a man. That's the kind of thing, and they try to, lure you in. You feel really special. And then usually that takes about, they call it like the honeymoon phase as well. And then something happens and they start to withdraw. And then by that time you're already sort of in his or her spider web, so to speak. You're already there, and then you get that back and forth because you want to get into that place. You don't understand why they withdraw their attention or why they start pointing out things you did wrong, and you start working hard to get back in the good book, so to speak. Usually around that time, they start to get you away from friends. or get you away from family, so isolate you. That's what they do as well. Then the anger tantrums start, and you don't, yeah, you don't understand because he or she was so nice in the beginning, and maybe you did something wrong. That's usually, they usually go for people who are very sort of people pleasing, the codependent people. So you start doubting yourself. That's what they want, because then you start working harder to get into the good books again. And that's the sort of thing they'll keep on doing from that point on. But yeah, because you're already in the web from the spider.
Oh wow. And so like I will like so there's also saying, right, that after they do this phase, there's also the devalue and discarding phase, right? In a not just like in relationships, but also in business and like everything. There seems to be like all the famous psychologists have come up with a three-step phase that they come up with. So what happens, like what is the psycho, can you tell for the sake of the audience more about these two phases and what is the psychology of the person doing that? Why would they do that?
Well, you mean like the going the back and forth, you mean?
Like the
Like,
devaluation, like they start to devalue you and then finally they discard you. But why do they go through
why
this?
would they do that? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, because they want you, they want control. They want the power. And if you start doubting yourself, you're not very strong on your boundaries, you're not very strong in your power, that's where they want you to be, because then they can do whatever they want with you. So it's a very, yeah, almost interesting thing what happens, because yeah, they try to lure you in the beginning, then you're sort of soft, then you go for it, then you think, oh, you're the best one in the world, and then the other part starts, but then you're already lured in, you're already there. It's very hard for you, especially because a lot of people are codependent, which fall for a narcissistic, empaths as well, to stand your ground. So the doubting is because you start doubting yourself. You think, well, maybe I'll see it wrong. Maybe I should do something right. And they play onto that. They make you feel that you did something wrong. Because if you have something, they say a lot of times, if you've done that, if you shouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have gone angry with you. Or if you shouldn't have done that, then, I wouldn't have done that. Even to the point where they sort of cheat on you. That's what I hear a lot of times as well. They cheat on you like it's your fault. Because if you be nice, if you, I don't know, put on certain clothes, if you stopped seeing those friends, whatever, served him better, I don't know, something they make up, then they would have felt better. And it's your task, that's how they feel, to make them feel better. They need your energy. And at that point, you're already so, yeah, soft and doubting yourself. You start doing that. You start, yeah, thinking, oh, I should do something different, because you want the nice man back, the one you knew from the beginning. And if you only did that, he would become nicer again and everything would be all right. We would be in the honeymoon phase again. And he does that. So it's manipulation at its largest. He does that, then he'll come round, sort of, and he gives you attention. And he doesn't mean it. And that woman, when he's cheating, is nothing. You're the only one, blah, blah, blah. And then you think, oh, man, maybe it was just a phase. He's busy at work. Maybe I have to do my part. And then, well, that's what happens all the time.
So, Ingeborg, one of the things that a lot of people notice is that there's something called trauma bonding, like where
Yeah.
the person that's with a narcissist in business or career or even in relationships, they are very dependent on them, but they call it love. But
Yeah.
it's almost like if they're not with them in that moment, like they cannot live without them. So, what is the psychology behind that? Like, how do you, why would somebody fall in love with somebody that treats them badly? It always fascinates me because I always like in my own personal life I've seen a lot of people that good people that have actually fallen for people that have not been good for them, and it's a fascinating because like they treat them badly, but it's like an all, in your words, like, what do you think is going on?
Yeah, well, what happens is that the trauma bond is like you have two people and one has a wound and the other one, and then subconsciously they are attracted to each other. And what you said, they feel, they think this is love. And why do they think that? Because that's their blueprint from when they were little. So it's sort of familiar to them. It's what they know. And as humans, we like to go for what we know. We like familiarity. That's what we like. So that's what happens subconsciously, and a lot of, as you know, a lot of happens subconsciously. There's this attraction because it feels familiar. It feels nice. That person does something or doesn't do something, like if they're emotionally unavailable. You sometimes see that the father of that woman wasn't around. He died at an early age, or something happens, and then she grew up with, or the father was there, but never for her emotionally. So that's what she learned. She learned, okay, this is what men do. And then later on, she finds a man who does exactly that. And she doesn't like it, because that's what people always say, but I don't like it. But it's so deeply ingrained in her blueprint, in what she learned, that she goes for it. Obviously, finding out it's not working, because somebody with a wound and you with a wound, and a trauma bond never works. And then if you don't do the work, they'll break up. The next one comes around, same thing. Looks different,
But that doesn't
whatever,
make sense. I
same
mean,
thing.
like on a logical level, it wouldn't make sense because you wouldn't want to be with somebody that that basically treats you badly, and it's like it's like a moth to a flame. But then
Yeah.
there's like all these other good people around you. Like, why are you going as a moth to the flame to that one? Is it like, I just find this entire concept a little bit fascinating, you know?
Yeah, it is, but it's that is because of the that you know what to do with it as well. Even though it's not nice and they treat you in a certain way, you know how to deal with it. For example, with the emotional unavailable, if that's your blueprint from when you were little, you know how to deal with it. It's not what you really like, but you don't know any other thing. You don't know the available nice man or woman who treats you nice, who gives you attention and respect and everything, that you don't know. And usually I find people that they think they're boring. When somebody is available and there, they are boring. And the other one, the sort of bad guy, is really interesting. Who never has time for you. You have to work hard for that love. That's what you know, because it wasn't there when you were little. And that's how humans work. They like to go for what they know, although it's not nice, logically, but the thing is, we're not really driven by logic. We're driven by emotions. We're driven by our subconscious. And to get out of that pattern of getting the wrong relationship, you need to go back to where the wound started, and heal that wound. That's the inner child healing.
So in book, it almost sounds like the narcissist is kind of like a drug. And it's basically like cocaine or meth. And then the feelings that this narcissist, or like whether it's a man or a woman, like a bad boy or the bad girl or whatever it is, they basically create these emotions that are similar to a drug, and then they latch you onto you just the way like a drug does. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting from all of this, like including the love bombing, the devaluation, the discarding, the gaslighting, the push pull. All this combined together creates like an addiction. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, the part of is there is addiction. The part as well is what I said earlier. You usually codependent people or empaths are the ones who sort of get stuck with a narcissist. Because if you have really strong boundaries yourself, and you're strong and whatever, you're not interesting for a narcissist, because they can't manipulate you. The moment they do something and you have strong boundaries, you think, well, I'm not going to put up with that. And you set your boundaries, and they can't deal with that. because they are the ones who need to manipulate and move the relationship in whatever way they want. They want to use you. So there's the addiction, yeah, but only if you are like a codependent or an empath, because otherwise you'll sort of, well, you don't even go as far as the first date, because you pick up on the things they do. They manipulate in texting and things like that, or even on the dating app. So yeah, it's more than that, the addiction. And if there's the addiction, then it stems from what I said earlier, the bit where you are used to it. That's your blueprint. That's what you know. You know how to deal with that kind of thing. So that's why you can stay in that situation. You've learned how to move on when things are tough. Well, that's what you do. When you're with a narcissist, you have to move on because things are tough.
So Amber, one of the things that I do want to like put it out there is that society rewards narcissistic behavior. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. Like in business and career and politics, we see that all the politicians that act like narcissists, all the top CEOs that act like narcissists are getting rewarded for their bad behavior by society at large. So like the reason why this is a special episode to me and I wanted to discuss this is because this is a societal issue, like a
Mhm.
massive societal issue. Like, yeah, there are narcissists out there, but the fuel is that they're getting rewarded by this behavior. But like, what is your opinion on that? Like, is that like true, or like, do you also see that in nations, especially across the Western world, in Europe, in America, Canada, Australia, like you have, and like even all in even in like the East as well, you have a pattern where narcissistic behavior in politics, in business, in career keeps getting rewarded.
True. Yeah, that's a sad thing about the whole thing. It is being rewarded, but I do always see the other side as well. It's like the karma, if we believe in that, does its work as well. So they might get rewarded for it by money or by power or by whatever, but it never sustainable. Unfortunately, it does take some time sometimes to, yeah, that people will see what is actually happening because they're blind by whatever the narcissist does. But talking about this like this and giving information to the public and speaking about it, and like survivors are talking about it, it becomes easier and easier for people to recognize it. And what I said earlier, the distinguishment between the real narcissist and the one who has some traits. Because being in that position of being a CEO or whatever, they might be a real narcissist, but they might have some narcissistic traits, which yeah, but it does take something to be in that certain level and do the work. So it is so easy now because it's like sort of buzzword to say, oh, he's a narcissist, but maybe it's just part of his job or his position to make decisions, and it's not really narcissistic. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's we can't call anybody a narcissist because that's not true. It's only a certain percentage of people, but they do happen to be in that position as well, being a CEO or politics or whatever.
But Inberg, one thing that I can tell you that I've noticed is that a lot of people, they start off good, right? There's a lot of good men and good women out there, and they start off good and they try to do the right thing. But then they see that the society around them rewards the CEOs who have narcissistic personality disorder, the politicians who have narcissistic personality disorder, even relationships where the girl goes after, like there's a lot of like good men out there who fell in love with the girl, and then the girl doesn't want them because they're boring. They just want the bad boy narcissist. And
Yeah.
then they're like, you know what, I'm going to be just like this person. And then they get rewarded by other girls for that behavior. And like, it's just an example like that in politics or in career or in business and even in relationships. Good people are seeing that and they're like, you know what, in order for me to be successful, I must try the dark side. I must try to be this type of person. And then they see the rewards immediately. So what would you tell to somebody that is initially a good person, but is now contemplating turning to the dark side in order to get the results that people with narcissistic traits usually get? Because society, it's pretty obvious, rewards.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, well, I would say never do that because it will come around one way or the other.
A
You
lot of
know,
the audience is now watching this and they're asking you the same question that's coming into my mind. Why
yeah,
should I not turn to the dark side? I know that women, Quran, and all these other people, they worship these type of behavioral traits, and all the men as well when it comes to like
because it's not you. It's not like you can't really decide to become like a narcissist. Well, you can use the traits maybe, but I don't think you can look yourself into the eye at the end of the day. When it's not part of your personality, when it doesn't work because I feel, or maybe you should, discard your own feelings, put them aside, because we're like what I said earlier, we're emotional beings. We have emotions, we have feelings. That's all decisions are made from our feelings. So you have to totally discard your feelings and use the things to get, I don't know, get a woman or get that job or whatever. And I don't think it's sustainable. It is because it's not, because you're at the end of the day, you bring yourself along. So you become very cold, don't do anything with your feelings or things what's happening there, the pain you cause other people. Usually, majority of people don't like to cause pain to other people. They don't. So you have to do that to be able to get that money, the job, the woman, the man, or whatever. And maybe it's sustainable for a short period of time, but I don't believe you can do that. Because in essentially what you say is that people are not good in essence.
they're
And that,
addicted. I would say that they're addicted. But yeah, you could say that too.
yeah, you can say that. And some people are, but I don't believe, and that's not what I see, let's put it that way, that people are bad in essence. Some of them are, but not like the majority. So you can try, and I think you just realize at a certain point, maybe when you get older, that it's not there, because it feels very hollow as well. And then you have the money, and then no feelings. Your relationship are not sustainable because people, you know, they leave you. Your job is usually not sustainable because something happens there. So I don't think it works.
I mean, I'm glad that you say that, Inberg, because like in today's world, a lot of people are like a lot of like generally good people. They are looking at the world and they are seeing that the moralists or the people that are ethical are getting punished, and then the
Yeah.
immoral people and the bad ones are just going unpunished. They're just like getting rewarded day in, day out. And a lot of them are tired of this and they want to do something about it, but they're like, do I continue being on the light side or do I turn to the dark side? But
Yeah.
like, yeah, that
Yeah. Well, I would say that well, and it's just my opinion. I would say I think you will be better off just to say on the light side, because the thing as well is we see them in media and whatever, but how big is that percentage of the people in regards to the rest of the world? It seems, because we see them in the media and papers and stuff like that, that it's like all of them. But obviously, I think the majority is not there. Majority is not in the papers or on social media, or maybe just like with things they like, but not the other ways. It's a very small percentage, but that's the ones we see, and the majority we don't. We don't speak to the majority. We don't know how they live their lives and everything. So yeah, for me, I wouldn't do it. It doesn't. And I believe in karma as well, you know, and that's up to 21. But I always, it'll come back one way or the other.
So, Ingeborg, a question that I have for the sake of the audience is like, let's say you are at the workplace or you're in a relationship with a person that has narcissistic personality disorder and you are entangled, right? What do you do to basically get out of that situation or basically minimize the damage that they're causing to your self-esteem through their antiques and their tactics of devaluation and gaslighting and all of that?
Yeah, well, the only thing actually is one word, is get out. Well, that's two words actually, but it's run. You know, there's no way you can minimize the damage they do. You can't change them. The one who's changed is you. So you need, it depends on the situation you're in, but sometimes you need to start getting resources or getting people outside of your home to help you, to make sure you can leave that person and be in a safe space. Start getting money so you can move with your kids or without kids. And what I said depends where you are, but that's usually what happens. So it's not a matter of minimizing the damage or anything, because the damage has been done. The only thing I can say which helps is realizing that you need a lot of strength to stay in a relationship with a narcissist. Although you don't feel that because you're like a heap of nothing, basically, at the end. But there's still there is strength in you to stay in such a volatile situation. So use that strength to get out of it. And realize that takes a lot of strength to stay in there, and use that. There's always something inside you, because obviously that made you stay, that you can use to leave the situation. And it won't be easy. It takes a lot of time and therapy and help and people around you, if you have them, to build up your identity and your heart and your soul and whatever. But we can, as people. I mean, I did it. I know a lot of clients did it as well. It is possible. But yeah, you need the healing, and you need to refine yourself and rebuild the identity and the soul and the love you have for yourself and your boundaries and everything. But it is doable. It is doable.
I mean, Ingeborg, like in today's society, this is such a prevalent disorder, the narcissism. Like basically, almost every single person has come across like a narcissist. You know, like, but here's the thing. Like, I know getting out is the most logical thing, but a lot of people have their mothers as a narcissist, their fathers as a narcissist, the sister is a narcissist, the brother is a narcissist, and even in their workplace, their boss could be a narcissist. Like it, there are some situations where they cannot easily unentangle and leave. So like in that case, like what would be your advice to somebody who has a family member or like they have a spouse that has narcissistic personality disorder and they're just unable to leave, like for the sake of, like, say they have kids and all of that, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a difficult situation like that.
Yeah. Well, that they say there's like this method of a gray rock. And that means that you become like a rock where you don't show any emotions, because that's what they like, that's what they feed off. You don't show any emotions. So it is really hard because you're in that situation and they try to get a reaction of you, manipulate you, whatever. Try to see them, if at all possible, as someone you don't even know, as someone who's mentally unstable, or as someone you have to deal with, but it doesn't get to you. But that's the thing, they very, very clever usually in trying to find a way into your, well, in your system. So the gray rock method is like you become like a rock. So whatever they say and do or ask or tantrums or whatever, you try not to let it get to you. Because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with you. You know, it's not like you've done anything wrong or you're not a good person. It's them. They lack identity. They lack anything. They lack consciousness. And that's why they can do what they do. That's why they need you. So if you can see it in that perspective, that they need you, you'll maybe feel you feel stronger, and that it's not vice versa. So they need them rather than you need them. They need you rather than they need them. So if you see it in that way, if at all possible, and yeah, don't let them get to you, and make a plan of getting out. I did myself as well. When I was 16, I left my home because that was my mother who was a narcissist. So I couldn't go anywhere when I was younger, but I did when I was 16. And the same thing for, if it's your boss or your spouse or whatever, you're never going to win from a narcissist.
So,
You're not going to change.
So, Ingeborg, another question I would have for the sake of the audience, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience would want to know, like how do you mentally process like the abuse that a narcissist has done to your life? Like a lot of people want revenge, and they want the narcissist to get a taste of their own medicine. And other people say that, oh, it's a mental disorder. You need to treat them like they're part of a mental asylum, and you should have a Christian idea of love and forgiveness. But from your perspective, how do you, on a spiritual plane, deal with such creatures? Because they're obviously demonic, you know?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Well, everybody can have their own opinion or ways they want to do that from whatever side they come. Um, for me, it is like you have to refine your own identity, because everything sort of was destroyed. So the main focus for me would be the healing for yourself and become that strong person. And in that process, which takes a lot of time, you may come to that point that you forgive them, but there's nothing really to forgive. For me, it's like they've done wrong, and it's up to me to get myself back, and because otherwise I give my power to them for the rest of my life. If I sort of are still attached to them. So it's energetically, you have to detach from them, refine yourself, do the healing, make sure you get strong boundaries and everything, so it won't happen again. So won't find someone else like that. And that's what I did. And you can't go on with your life without doing the healing. You really need that part. It's necessary. Otherwise, you become bitter as well and give up on love or give up on life.
So, Ingeborg, if there's, let's say there's somebody watching this that has been a victim of narcissistic abuse, whether in their career or in their relationships and all that, like, what do you know of any resources that they can go to basically start the healing process and heal themselves and come to a mental place where they do not, they
Mm.
no longer loathe or want revenge and all of that stuff, and like come from a spiritually higher place?
Well, I would say, like what I said earlier, the therapy. Get someone who knows what it's all about, that you don't have to walk that path alone. Because especially the inner healing, there is a reason, and it's not to say that's your fault, but there is a reason why you are that codependent empath, and you attract the narcissist. So there's something inside you. What I said, I want to, really say it's not their fault, but there is something inside you which makes you or stay with that narcissist. So you have to work on that. So you really need someone who takes you on that path to do the work. And then obviously there are a lot of books out there as well. You can listen to podcasts to understand what's been happening to you. Take the time to reflect, do the work. And make sure even don't go out dating too soon, I would say, unless you're really sort of strong on the inside, because you're still, yeah, you're still not healed, so you're still very vulnerable for those kind of people. And I see that sometimes happening within my practice with clients, that they start dating too soon because obviously the ego has a wants something as well. You want love, things like that. Want a validation from someone, and then they attract the same kind of person, and they got another blow. So that's what I would do. Take the time for yourself, reflect, get stable, get the boundaries, do the work, do the inner healing, and know that's maybe very important as well. They try to steal your identity and everything, but I know it's always there. A part of you, maybe very tiny, slimmer, it is still there. It's covered with all this mud and stuff and whatever they did to you, but it's always something in there, and you have to tap into that. And whatever way you do that, start self-care and like all the things I just mentioned, and make that fire which is still inside you start burning up again, and yeah, pick up your own life.
Thank you, Ingeborg, for those words, because yeah, a lot of people need to hear that, you know. And on another note, I know that you had this method called the MetaMind breakthrough method, right, with which you used to help clients and all that. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about what it is and the premise of how it got started?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the work I've been doing for over the years, which evolved into what I do now, the MetaMind Breakthrough, is using all my different modalities and helping clients with the relationship realm, problems within the relationship realm. It's men, women, and couples. Could be specifically in the personal space, or it could be from work as well. And that's like victims of narcissism and attachment or abandonment issues, codependency, what I talked about, and the relationship addiction or combination from those. And I'll help them. I'll walk that path with them. We go to the root cause because that's where it all started. That's why you maybe become that codependent who attracts a narcissist or whatever issue you have. And what I said, I use different modalities, and we walk that path to the results that you want. And what I said earlier, it is doable. If you want to do the work and you want to explore and go to the pain, which unfortunately we have to, but we get to the root cause and we change that. And then, what I said, use different things to get to the results they want.
So, Imrok, how can the audience connect with you and get to know more about your work and everything that you do?
Well, via my website, metamindbreakthrough.com, and via the socials. I'm on LinkedIn under my own name, Ingeborg Mooiweer. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram. You can find me under my own name. So it's all like Ingeborg Mooiweer.
Thank you so much, Ingeborg, for taking the time to do this podcast with me and enlightening the audience about narcissism and its and how it affects us in society and in career and politics and everything else. And this is a subject that I think a lot of people need to know. And I am glad that you talked about it. And I do hope that you come back to the show at a later time.
I will do. Thank you very much for having me. And I hope, well, the listeners could do something with my insights and my story.
For sure. And I want to conclude this episode by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us, and it's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now. Hey everyone, thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets us free. Also, remember that inflation is diluting your purchasing power, which in turn increases financial bondage. The practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power and invest in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Lastly, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.